Newly released documents show the U.S. may have supplied funds to the Wuhan lab's gain-of-function research program. So there's a lot of bad implications from this. Joining us now to talk about it is Guy Benson, Fox News contributor, host of the Guy Benson radio show, and Roma Daravi, former White House Deputy Strategic Comms Director. Thank you for coming, kids. Guy Benson, this is a story. It centers around Tony Fauci, but a lot of other players are involved in this. I just want to know, the research that they did, in your judgment, I mean, this is circumstantial. No one seems to be able to pin this stuff down. But the gain-of-function research is high-risk research. You make a mistake, and it can be transmitted all over the place and get out of the lab. Is that what the issue is here, or are some people just afraid of research? Guy.
Well, Larry, I am not a scientist. I don't play one on TV or on the radio. And the short answer is I don't know. I'm not afraid to say that I don't know when there's a blind spot, because this is nowhere near my wheelhouse of expertise. I will say this. Having watched Dr. Fauci adamantly deny that the U.S. or his organization in any way funded this gain-of-function research in Wuhan, and now there seems to be more evidence suggesting that maybe that's precisely what happened, I would like to see him dragged back under oath to answer a lot of questions about this specific, technical, scientific questions from people who understand this stuff, which may not be too many members of Congress, quite frankly. But he was saying it did not happen. Senator Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. And now a few threads from doctors and scientists based on this new information, this new leak, basically, documents that you mentioned, Larry, it would indicate, and some of these people are suggesting, that Fauci was at best maybe less than fully truthful here. And to me, I'm not really sure if there's a more important or relevant line of inquiry in the world than how this thing got started, where it started, what the entire story looks like in regards to a virus that has caused a global pandemic that has killed millions of people. And to have these shifting, sort of squirrely stories and denials that might be parsed or technical, and hoping sort of it'll go all over our heads, which to some extent it has so far, that's not acceptable. We need to get the truth. And if Fauci has not been truthful on this crucially important point, I mean, I think that his legacy will be in tatters. Well,
okay. I agree. I would agree. I know Tony Fauci. I was on the COVID task force in the Trump days, but you got to fess up. Roma, look, it says here, grants awarded to the EcoHealth Alliance in 2014 underwrote a $599,000 study at the Wuhan Institute, located in China, blah, blah, blah. Officially identified in late 2019 to identify and alter bat coronaviruses likely to infect humans. Now, all right, so let's assume, Roma, the money that we gave this grant. I don't know where you go from there. Is this inherently bad? Are the Chinese covering up? Are we covering up? In other words, where does this lead? Do we not do research because we're worried about it makes it easier to transmit, Roma? Or must we do research? I guess that's one of the questions here.
Sure. Well, like Guy said, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to answer that question specifically. But what I will say is that we need to know the truth about what happened with this virus. The American people need to know how this virus came to America. And we really can look back at what our President Donald J. Trump said in the very early days of this virus, which is that it came from the Wuhan lab in China. And now we're seeing that U.S. funds, taxpayer funds through the NIH, were sent to China for this type of very dangerous research, specifically focused on pandemic-style viruses that may spread quicker, more drastically, more dangerously. And so what we need to take a very close look at here is not who said what when, but how can we relay this to the American public so that they feel safe at home and they know they can trust what's being told to them so they can act accordingly and make those decisions for themselves.
I mean, I think, by the way, well put, Roma. I don't know whether this is an area where research should or should not be done, Guy. That's what's got me puzzled. Some people
Right.
say we should never have done this, but there's going to be COVID viruses in the future. This whole story may happen again. If it does happen, I hope it doesn't happen in a Chinese lab, to Roma's point, because I think that's the Achilles heel of the whole story. But the fact is, do we not do research on these viruses? I'll give you the last word.
No, I think, of course, we have to do research on these viruses, and I think you could probably have a robust debate between scientists about what that research should look like, what it shouldn't look like. I will say, if we were doing it, if we were funding it with U.S. grant dollars, and we were doing so in China at a lab that reportedly has had some problems in the past with leakage, that seems like an even higher risk proposition. And if you want to say, hey, it's still worth the risk, it's still, we look at the cost-benefit analysis, those are dollars well spent despite the risks and despite this disastrous outcome for the entire world, then you have to be straight up about it and make that case and say, yes, we gave the money for these reasons.
Yep.
Here's why we're defending it, as opposed to deny until evidence comes out suggesting that perhaps those denials aren't actually accurate. That's the piece of it that I'm most interested in right now.
In the future, I don't have NIH grants have proven to be very useful down through the years, or they can be. They have a good rate of return. Let's not give it to China. How about that? That's the way I come. It's really to Roma's. Let's give it to, I don't know, Texas A&M or Caltech or someplace like that. Why do I have to give it to some bloody Wuhan laboratory with the Communist Chinese Party and nobody trusts them as far as you can throw them? Anyway, Roma Daravi,
they lie.
Benson. Yeah, they do. They lie, they cheat, they steal. They're our enemies, not our friends. So why are we giving them money in the first place? All right.
Exactly.
Enough said. I'm not a scientist either. Nice to see both of you.